Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ellen,
And I'm Alyssa.
and this is 2024 Our Story, the podcast where we talk about our experiences as members of Scripps' class of 2024 and hope that in the future it'll be useful to help other people understand our times.
Yes, kind of like a time capsule.
This is exciting. All right,
Yes.
so in this podcast, we will be talking about something that I feel like a lot of people might be struggling with, or not necessarily struggling. I don't know. How would you phrase that, Alyssa?
it's it's a time where different kinds of people thrive, I feel like, and some others don't as much. Like if you're an introvert already when we're not in COVID, and then you are at home all the time and you're into new school, you have to make new friends, it's already going to be so much harder to make friends. So I don't know what you would call that.
Totally, yes. And if you haven't gotten this already, today we will be talking about making friends online during the COVID-19 pandemic when you're first starting college and you don't know anyone.
Exactly.
Yes. First of all, okay, let's talk about how we first met. I feel like that's important to
Set the stage. Give some background story.
Yes, why are we doing this podcast and not other people?
Exactly.
Okay, well, we'll be completely honest. We don't have any qualifications to be doing this. We're doing it because we want to. But anyways, let's travel back in time to 2020. We mentioned this in the first podcast, but Alyssa and I met through Scripps' summer class for environmental econ 70. It's really funny, Alyssa, because I was talking to another girl who was in that class, who I knew was class of 2024. And then in the first day of class, we were looking for other class of 2024 people from Scripps. And you introduced yourself, but I completely missed that you were class of 2024. So we made a group chat with all of the other people. And then I think Scarlett was like, hey, do you want to include Alyssa? Because I'm pretty sure she's also class 2024. And I was like, she is?
Yeah, so I think I had to introduce myself first. I remember being really freaked out about it. I'm pretty sure it was because I don't know how Zoom organizes people on screens. I know it's different for everybody, but I feel like because my name starts with an A and then I don't know, maybe I was there early or something. So I was just first on Professor Catcher's screen. So he was like, you go first. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So I feel like maybe that's why you missed it. But
That could
I'm
be
not
it.
sure.
I might just not have been paying attention, which
I don't know.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised by.
It's okay. I totally forgot. Out of the people in that class, I totally forgot who went to what school, who was in what grade. It was already pretty hard.
So, econ class, we met there.
Somebody reached out to me because I wasn't in the group chat. So somebody, I forget who it was. I feel like it might have been Grace.
It could have been Grace or it could have been Scarlett. Because I think Scarlett was the one who said, or maybe it was Grace.
Sure. I know in class though. I think in class. I'm pretty sure it was Grace.
Grace definitely reached out to people in class. I know
she reached out to me in class. Yep.
But yeah, so Alyssa, you and I really only talked once though during that class, I think.
Yeah, it was over your baking and me trying to draw whales. We were all trying to do a new skill during the class. That was a pretty long class.
That class, yeah, it felt like a seminar class, but it wasn't.
It was like 2.5 hours, right?
I think so. It was either 2 or 2.5. It was 2.5 hours with like a 5-minute break. Or he gave us 10 minutes.
Yes. I think it depended on.
Yes. We were all trying different skills. It was us and then 3, and then us 2. Yeah, there were 5 people. We love you, Scarlett, Ava, and Grace. Our first conversation.
We were studying. Quote
unquote studying. Yes. Our first time meeting outside of class was it was a Zoom call. We scheduled a Zoom call to try and study for the class. And in complete honesty, I don't even remember what exactly we were supposed to be studying. I think we were going to read. That did not work. We had some reading that we had to finish, and we were like, okay, let's work on this. But then we started talking about meeting each other and talking, which was very nice, I must say. Like, I know we need to get work done, but I had a very nice time talking with you guys.
I know. It was fun. I'm surprised we did not talk more. I feel like, I don't know.
I got busy.
I
That
think we
class was
did.
just so intensive, and like I think we
It
were like,
was.
yeah, if we meet again, we're not gonna do any work.
Yeah.
After that econ class, I don't think I talked to anyone for the whole beginning, like first few weeks of the fall semester, and then as the people who are listening probably know, Scripps has a Core 1 class, which all first year Scripps students have to take. And we'll be talking about this later too. That this is a whole different topic for a different episode, but they had to restructure Core 1s because we had to do it online and we couldn't go to lectures and all that stuff. Professor Novi put on these core nights where he would talk about the core assignments and try to help people. And so I went to the first core night, and there were a lot of people there. But I remember seeing Alyssa's name. She didn't have her camera on, but I saw her name, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's Alyssa! I know her!" And then Professor Noe was talking about something, and everyone was
Oh my
laughing.
God.
And I saw that
Oh.
Alyssa was unmuted, and I could hear her laughing. I texted her and I was like, "Hi, Alyssa. Just as an FYI, your mic is on." So
That was so. I feel like because of Zoom, everybody has like one moment of just Zoom embarrassment. Whether your mic is on or you, I don't know, maybe send a chat to the wrong person or other random Zoom things that can happen. That was so horrible. But lucky for me, I didn't really know anybody, It was in the very beginning. So I feel like nobody would remember, you know?
yes. And then from that moment on, we started talking. I don't even remember what we talked about. I think we were like, "How are you doing?" We did the formal "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And then from there we scheduled calls, regular calls, I think, because we both needed social
Yes.
interaction.
It's all about the scheduling. That's definitely what I've learned. If you have a time and place and you're like, let's do this every week, every month, whatever it is for you, that definitely helped me. I would not have called you so much. We probably wouldn't be doing this podcast if we had not made it a weekly thing. Our calls.
That is very true.
They were lovely.
Thank you. It's very lovely talking to you too. And I get to talk to you even more now that we're doing this.
I know, it's fun.
Yes. But anyways, it's other than you, I have some other friends.
That's good. I can't say as much for me.
Really?
So,
I think that you've talked to me about some people who
I feel like I don't know, it's hard, definitely. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Wait, hold on. Okay. It's hard. It's definitely harder online to try to talk to people because of course you have the very formal, like when you first start talking to somebody, you kind of have to be committed. You have to be a lot more committed to like trying to be friends with this person and trying to actually talk to them more because you just don't have as much casual time like before class, after class, stuff like that. So I feel like I've reached out to certain people. Some people I've talked to about classes, like they've become kind of like, if I have a question about a class or I'm just very, very confused about something, I'll go to them. But there hasn't been as like strong connections, I feel like. But it might just be because I reached out to you early and we like had a schedule. Like, note to self, when making friends, make a schedule.
Yes, making friends in the age of COVID-19.
Yes.
That's actually really good advice. Yeah, I mean, I think that classes and like Zoom events are generally the one place where you meet people. Because I am friends with 3 other Scripsies, and the only reason we all met was because we have the same academic advisor, and our advisor was like, "Let's have a Zoom meeting before the semester starts," and so we met there. And so we created a group chat just in case we had questions. And then we only started talking. I don't know if they're gonna like want me to say this. We only started talking because we were all getting our wisdom teeth out in the same week, and that week was the week that we had to like schedule or sign up for classes, and we were all freaking out together.
Wow.
It was,
Bonding experiment.
yes,
Experience.
traumatic.
Okay. I feel like we both went to pretty small schools, right? I mean, we still go to small school, but it's totally different, I feel like, online. So the feeling of being able to go to a school that's small and you actually like walk around, you see many people you know, you can talk to like a bunch of people, talk to them before class, after class, whatever. Going from that to going to like online school is so crazy, especially when you first start college and you know nobody in your classes. Because I feel like senior year online was easier for me, at least, because even though I didn't like having classes online that much, I at least knew my friends in my class. And, you know, if it was a I'm kind of exposing myself, but you know, I feel like people do this. You like can text your friends out while you're in class when you like react to certain things that the teacher says or something that happens. So I feel like that you still feel kind of connected. So I definitely miss that.
Yeah, I was also gonna bring up that point. It's like it's almost daunting being like a freshman and not knowing anyone at the school. And you're going in, you can't like meet people before class and be like hi and introduce yourself that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different dynamic.
I feel like you're also for orientation. I feel like that is a great bonding experience, even though it's kind of cringy sometimes. Some of the stuff, like when you have to do icebreakers with people, or you have to like do games or whatever they make you do when you first meet people. I don't know. They made us do that in high school, but it's very awkward, right? But then you
Yes.
can kind of complain. See, complaining brings people together sometimes. So you can talk about the icebreakers, you can kind of complain about it, and then you can like make friends.
And since we're on the topic of orientation or NSPO as it is at Scripps, did that help you make any friends when we were first starting? Because I realized we didn't even touch on that.
Oh, was that like the groups that they put us in, and they were like, you have to meet them a certain amount of times?
Yes. Uh-huh, that's it.
I don't know. I feel like my group had a bunch of they all seemed very nice, and I'm sure that eventually I'll be friends with some of them and completely forget that they were ever in my group. But I my group was kind of quiet, so I feel like we honestly just stayed there for the amount of time that we had to, and then we kind of left. Like that sounds really mean, and I feel really bad for the person who was like in charge of us and having to like try to put us together and stuff, but I don't know.
It was awkward.
It was
From what
awkward. It didn't I definitely appreciate all the things that like they were trying to do, you know, and it's not like Scripps' fault that it like those things probably didn't make people connect in the way that they wanted it to, ideally. But I just feel like with COVID and everything, people it's just hard, you know.
yeah.
You really do have to try a lot harder to connect with people.
Yeah, that's very true. It's kind of like you have to force yourself to go to events because then you might see like you it's kind of like you start the conversation and when you meet them at like the first thing. And then when you see them later, then it's like, okay, I know you. How have you
Yeah.
been doing? And then you like go on from there, kind of like what we did. I feel like that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. There is something about like trying to reach out to people on your own though, you know? So definitely
That's
like
true.
feeling forced to go to things isn't always the best like first or starter feeling of
Mhm.
trying to make friends and connect with people.
I totally get
But
that.
I also feel like online is hard because you can get I don't know, you can kind of like be I don't know if rejected is the right word, but you can like I don't know, in person for me, I was very persistent with certain people. Like if I wanted to be somebody's friend or if I really vibed with somebody, this sounds so crazy. I promise I'm not like crazy about this kind of stuff. But like if I really did like somebody and wanted to hang out with them more, get to know them more, I could be more, I don't know, forward, or you can just be like, you're kind of there all the time, you know? But
They
for
can't
people,
escape you.
but people online, they can just literally
They
like
can ghost you. That's what it.
they
Yeah.
can, and sometimes it's not even on purpose, right? They just, it's probably like the same thing about us and not texting back to people very quickly. You just forget, and after a while, it's been a long time, and you just, it's embarrassing. But that's what happens to me sometimes. I like try to connect with people, or people try to connect with me, and like somebody accidentally goes to the other person, and then it's too late. You know, it's a long time has passed.
I definitely feel you. Yeah, I feel like Instagram has definitely been a place of trying to be connected for our class at least. I feel like Instagram, it's not necessarily the same connection, but it's people trying to like reach out and like following. Because I follow people from our class who I've never met. I honestly don't know who they are, but they have Scripts 24 in their bio, so I'm gonna follow them and see, maybe one day I will meet them and we'll be besties.
Yes, definitely. I also, that's like my new requirement for people when I like find them and I'm like, oh, you say you have like Scripts 24 in your bio, I will request to follow you. But it is funny because even when like Grace reached out to me in this summer, um, in our class, we were like, oh, what's your Instagram? We were like, oh, we already follow each other. Cool. But I think that's so funny because Instagram definitely is a place where people, I have seen people connecting, you know, like I know a lot of people have started like moving from just following people and liking things to like actually commenting on them and stuff. I don't know how like genuine that becomes, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It like shows that you're kind of reaching out, and I feel like that can be a starter connection, but I don't know. I'm wondering if using social media to try to connect with people without having like real, not, I feel bad. It's not like it's not real connection, but you know what I mean? It's like commenting on somebody's picture, which is great. It's super sweet. People are so, at least the people I've seen from our class, they're just so sweet. But I feel like there's no genuine connection, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect meeting in person.
that's very true. I feel like there's these boundaries, or like boundaries or borders that like being online has created. So they're, and like they're on different levels too. So like there's like the following and then commenting. There's a boundary between being able to comment and like genuinely and like meaningfully. Then there's also a boundary being between doing that following and commenting and talking to the person.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another boundary between that and seeing the person on like Zoom or a video chat. And then there's the other boundary of meeting them in person. And I feel like there's it's such a big span of so many steps and so many different aspects that tie into each other
Mm-hmm.
within those different borders, that it's insane. And it's kind of, I agree with you. I think it's going to affect the way that we interact when we finally get back on campus.
I feel like something that really brings people together is going through something, you know, like although drama is not usually ideal, but it definitely brings people together. And I'm also wondering if, I know that of course COVID is it's its own drama for everybody, right? Everyone kind of experiences the same thing a little bit, not everybody, but at least for our class, I'm assuming it's pretty similar. So I'm not sure if that will in the end help with making connections, or kind of not really do anything at all. You know, like you can bond
That's a good
over
point.
talking about COVID and everything, but I feel like maybe that's not like personal enough of a trouble or problem you go through with people too. Because I feel like that's how I get really close to my friends. You go through something together, they're there for you, you talk to them about it, and then you just get closer, and then it just keeps happening, you know?
Yeah, I totally see that. I wonder if that's, I think this is a whole different thing, but like how core one is kind of like a bonding thing for all script students, how we once again, like you were saying, complaining sometimes brings people together. And you can
Yes.
complain about like what happened at core one. And I wonder if that'll take on the same kind of not necessarily value, but the same level of connection that it
Yeah.
does at scripts. I think that's what you're trying to get at. And I
Yeah.
like
I think
rephrased what you said, but yeah.
I think we're connected on this.
Oh yes,
We
we
got
agree
it.
on it. Yeah. I totally agree though. I think that's I wonder if it'll be even bigger once we get back on campus. Because I feel like you can talk about it now with people, but I honestly don't even know if it'll really be as up there as core one until all of it's over, right? Because when you talk about core one with people, because the class is over and you know what the outcome was, but even if we go back to campus, you're still gonna we have to assume that it's still gonna be the pandemic is still gonna be an issue, and
Yeah.
all the precautions still have to be in place.
I do think that that's pretty interesting. I also think that when we get back on campus, I'm really curious as to how people, I'm curious, a little bit worried, but mostly curious about how people are going to act with each other, because we talked about these boundaries, these borders with, especially when it comes to social media and becoming friends with people through that. But I'm wondering if when we get back on campus, is everybody going to immediately try acting as strangers first, and then it's kind of like is it going to be like a reset button where we're like all, even if we end up being sophomores, if like we all like kind of interact with each other as if we were all freshmen again together, or are people going to take those small but maybe important to them connections? It's different for everyone, like commenting on people's Instagram posts. I don't know how much connection that genuinely brings to people and friendships, but if that is important to people, I'm wondering if that's going to be how they're going to interact with each other, if they're already going to kind of interact like they're friends, like I'm very
like how they did on social media.
Yeah, I feel like that's hard, right?
Yeah. I totally see that. I think for me at least, it's going to be much easier to interact with you the same way we are right now. And
Yeah.
like the people that I talk to regularly, so like those other three girls I talked about earlier, I think I think the dynamic will be a little bit more comfortable with people who you've seen in class. I think if you've seen their faces and you've been able to talk with them, granted, talk through a screen, but being able to talk with them gives you some form of connection. You have an idea of what to expect. I think social media is, or at least Instagram, is a way to interact with people, but you don't necessarily like. There have been all the like those controversies about people posting photo like their ideal self on
Yes.
social media. And I think it's harder to really feel connected with someone when you're in person, when the only thing you've seen are those like quote unquote perfect photos of that person. If
Yeah.
that's what they do, at least.
I also think that GroupMe has been a huge part of people trying to connect, which is interesting because I feel like I text differently than how I speak with somebody on the phone or over FaceTime or in person.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if, because it seems like the Scripts 24 group chat is pretty close. Like there's only like a handful of people who really talk a lot on it, but the people who do seem very out there, very kind of extroverted, But I'm wondering how that's going to translate in person because
Yes.
maybe there'll be just like a little bit of an awkward phase for everybody until everyone kind of gets their footing on how they're going to be interacting with people.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally see that divide. The divide between like text and actual interaction. I like text completely different than how I talk to. I am a bad texter. It's insane. I like to think I'm an okay texter, but sometimes I just have to face the truth and just be like, I show no emotion when I text. Like it's hard to show emotion when you text, right?
Yeah, I feel like when I text, I want to be, especially when I'm not super close with people, I really want to be more enthusiastic and more happy in my text than I probably
Yeah.
am in person. Like, I don't, because I'm just so against the idea of someone reading a text and thinking that I'm like upset or something. So I put an excessive amount of like smiley faces. Have you gone to just another thing that, I don't know, this is not really school made. I think like the schools are trying to make us do it, but those like bonding, like quote unquote bonding Zoom call things for like the 5Cs or for like script students. Have you actually, like, what do you think about those? Have you actually gone to one? I'm just very curious.
Yeah. I went to Scripps Teas over the summer when they were trying to introduce you to scripts. And it was basically speed dating, right? You get put in a breakout room with like four other people for 10 minutes, and then you go back and you go in a different breakout room. And as an introverted person who can only meet so many people, could only really get through two of those sessions because I was like, oh, I could talk to you about this, but then I have to restart over in the next time. And like speed dating, I think it works for for a lot of people. Um, but for some people, I think, and me included, I think it's easier to just talk to someone for a longer period of time and truly get to know that person. And for that reason, I have not gone to any of the 5C,
Mm-hmm.
like the ones that the presidents have been putting together. I feel like I might try to this upcoming semester because that's one of my goals is to get to know more people from the 5Cs because at this point I feel like I know most people at Scripps. Um, I don't know. How about you? Have you gone to any of them?
I did also go to like, I don't know, probably also just two of those Scripps tea things, like the very first ones in the summer.
Mhm.
It's definitely a place where, I don't know, I just meeting people online is definitely where more extroverted people like
Thrive.
they thrive, like the people, it feels like whoever's the loudest, not, this is not about bad thing at all, but it's whoever's the loudest person. Usually there's like two people in a breakout room probably where they're like the loudest people, kind of, not loudest, like, you know what I'm talking about,
Most
right?
outgoing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I hear
like the most outgoing people, so they end up being the ones who are talking the most. I feel like that's also how it goes for like the group me's and everything. I feel like that's how it goes in general sometimes, like in class. It's just, I don't know, so for that reason I don't do as well for that. I definitely bonded more with people in my classes when I was in a breakout room with just one other person and
Mhm.
we were able to just talk, just us, like one-on-one is really really where I thrive on making connections with people. It's also
Yeah.
kind of, I know that Zoom is kind of a funny place when there's like little get-togethers that are made, because it can either be like a good thing because, oh, you can just not have your camera on, or you can just be muted, or you can just leave whenever you want, but at the same time it feels kind of it feels kind of awkward on Zoom too, probably more awkward than in person, because I can't imagine going to one of those. Like I also really want to like push myself to be more social in general, even with just script people. But like I can't imagine going to one of those things and there being like two people or something and
Mm,
just being feeling so awkward or something, or I don't know.
I get you. I
I'm like
get you.
nervous. It's a little daunting thinking about trying to go to one of like the student planned ones, because there's probably the people who would go are probably those like kind of louder people,
Yeah.
and they probably have already talked a little bit, so it's going to be very
Okay, you know what, Alyssa? You and I will make a pact that we will go to one of those things together.
yes,
So at
let's
least we
go.
know someone there.
And that's all that we have for today, you guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, and in our next episode, we'll be talking with the amazing Grace, who we talked about in this episode. You're welcome, Grace. Um, and we know that you're going to be just as impressed with her as we were, and we're excited to get to know her even better in a week or so. Whenever our uploading schedule is, I have no idea. But we will see you next time. Stay tuned, and bye, guys.
Bye.